بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما. So we're going to start off today with a few reflections based off of the last few ayats, actually. Ayat number 4, 5, and 6. I kind of want to spend this time just briefly to cover a few things about dreams because, typically I don't want to speak too much about dreams because it's a topic in which it's meant for people of knowledge, people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses with knowledge around the topic of dreams. However, since the Surah of Yusuf is so heavily kind of like revolved around dreams, I just want to mention a few points to just signify the topic with relations to the story, inshallah. Now, the story itself starts off with a dream. And it's a pretty significant dream, right? This dream only solidifies, it comes to fruition actually at the end of the story, right? Now, with that said, there's a thematic approach to the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, where it's actually, I don't know how you call it, but they call it a ring theory. And the ring theory is that when a story is being told, point 1, for example, would be attached to point 10, right? And then it would continue to go on to point 2, and that would be attached to point 9. And then point 3 to point 8, and so forth, and so forth, right? If you look at the story of Yusuf, it's so amazing that not only we believe that the Prophet ﷺ didn't write this down, right? For somebody to be able to do this, you would need comprehensive approach to structuring a story in a way where it has a ring theory to it, right? For example, if you write an essay or a poem, for example, right, and you wanted to have that ring theory, you would need to map it out. You would need to see what's the first point that you're going to speak, and how are you going to end it, right? Not only that, the story of Yusuf is very detailed. So much so that when you follow this ring theory, which is very difficult to do while I'm speaking, right? But I highly suggest if you go back and research Prophet Yusuf, you just Google it. It's ring theory. You'll see the significance of this of the storytelling, and it gives you a sense of like if you zoom out, if you know the whole story, right, and you analyze every detail, and you go through the whole story like with a significant time, with significant time, and using tadabbur, and you're sitting down and you're actually looking at it. You look at the ring theory, and it's as if you're zooming out, and you're looking at the whole picture as a whole. And the miracle in which this is happening shows you that since the Prophet ﷺ is telling this, or he's being revealed, and he's reading the story just one time, is within itself a miracle, right? So it starts off with a dream. Now, with dreams, we know in Islam that dreams are the first stage of prophethood. is known to be one of the first stages of revelations to our prophets, right? Abu Hurairah, he once said that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, when the end of time approaches, and we mentioned this 2 weeks ago, when the end time approaches, the dream of a believer can hardly be false. A dream of a believer is usually true when it's close to the Day of Judgment, right? The dream of a believer is one of 46 parts of prophethood, of prophecy. And whatever is from prophecy does not lie. Whatever is from prophecy does not lie, right? Now, this is one of the notions in which the reason why in Islam we're not allowed to make up dreams or speak of a lie in which we saw in our dream, it's haram in Islam. Why? Because it's attached to prophethood, right? So in a case of a good dream, right? In a case of a good dream, we should do the following. First and foremost, dreams are of three. Typically when we have dreams, we can categorize it into three things. First of which is a dream from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or is a dream in which we are, it's from our daily thoughts, right? And it's our daily activities. And from that daily activity, we dream about it. Lastly is dreams from shaitan. Now, how do we differentiate between the three, right? Now, first and foremost, whenever we have a dream, and that dream reminds us of Allah, whether it's good or bad. Whether the dream gives you a sense of like calmness or is a nightmare. If that dream reminds you of Allah, most likely it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because shaitan will never let you see anything or never let you have a dream that brings you back closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if it's a nightmare, like you see, for example, like Yawm al-Qiyamah or something like that, or the world is ending, and you wake up with fear, and you cry, and that reminds you of Allah, that's most likely is a dream from Allah. And Allah knows best. Right? Now, there are two other things, which is the consistency of a dream. Right? We know from history, in the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad, whenever people have dreams, true dreams of the past, you would notice that there's a consistency with that dream. Like the adhan, for example. That adhan, there was a dream that was presented to two specific sahabi that had the same exact dream with the same exact nas, meaning like the how we make adhan today. That is the consistency of that dream. Typically, is a sign. We mentioned that it's a sign that's from Allah, not that we're saying that is for sure from Allah. If that makes there's a difference there. When we say it's a sign from Allah, meaning that it's not, we can't say 100% that's from Allah, but it's just a sign, right? Another sign is that the dream that you have, if it reminds you of Allah, and there's a consistency of that dream, and it's also clear. You know how you have dreams, right? Typically you have like dreams where it's just you can't remember the specific details about it, right? It's fuzzy. You can't recall the dream, point by point. That's not really clear. When you have clear dreams and it's like you remember every single aspect, every single detail, from the color to like the sense of smell and stuff like this, right? That the feeling that you have, every stage in that dream, the clarity of a dream is another sign that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now obviously Allah knows best. These are just but signs that the dream may be from Allah, if that makes sense. Okay? So we said first and foremost, we should be grateful that Allah sends you a personal reminder to switch you and make you remember Allah. Now, I want to make this clear. There are people, Muslims in this world today, where if you notice them, is as if Allah has forgotten them. Wa'udhu billah. Is as if no matter how many signs Allah sends to that person, whether it's a death in the family, right? Or their health being taken away, or an accident that happened right in front of their eyes. It could have been them. Just a second more. If they drive a little bit more, it could have been them. There's so many signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends to them, and it doesn't click in their head. This is such, in Arabic, they call it musibah. It's such a bad thing to have. When Allah sends you a sign, a personal, handwritten sign for you, and you don't take notice? Like how hard can your heart be for you to not be able to see and realize that Allah is calling you back to Him? Right? So when Allah sends you a dream, and it strikes fear in your heart, or it makes you happy, or it gives you some kind of sense that, this must be a sign from Allah. We should be praising Allah the moment we wake up from that dream, right? Another thing that we should do when we have a good dream is that we look forward to seeing it in our life, right? Especially for the mu'mineen. Now, obviously, we can't say that. Like, I have a clear dream, and it reminds me of Allah, and you're looking for it in your life. No, and that's not what I mean, right? What I mean is that a true mu'min usually have true dreams when it's closer to Day of Judgment. How do we know we're a mu'min? We don't. We really don't. So when we have a dream, don't spend too much time in trying to try to find the answers to that dream, right? If you're missing Fajr, khalas. Right? If you're not reading the Quran, every day, if your heart is not attached to the masjid, just slow down there. You don't think that we're a mu'min right now, right? So again, like for a mu'min, and obviously it's very difficult even for the scholars. If you were to ask them, like, are you a mu'min? Do you consider yourself? They would say, no way. I am the furthest from those people. Those people deserve the highest ranks of Jannah. Surah Al-Mu'minun. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ وَارِثُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, the winners, the people who achieved success are mu'minun. And He says later on in the surah, He says, they have inherited Firdaus al-A'la. الَّذِينَ يَرِثُونَ الْفِرْدَوْسِ. They have inherited Firdaus. These are the mu'minun. Who is anyone today would be able to say, I am a mu'min? Nobody in the face of the earth. Right? So we continue. Another thing you should do is, when you have a good dream that reminds you of Allah, tell the ones that you love. Your mother, your father, your close friends. Now, notice when I said, tell those who you love. If you have a cousin, or a brother, or a sister, that there's some jealousy between you guys, there's some competition, there's some bad blood between you two, most likely you shouldn't tell them. Just like Yaqub alayhi salam, he says, this dream, you do not tell your brothers. They're his brothers. They live in the same household. They share the same food. They share the same parent, right? But why? Why not tell his brothers? We'll learn in the story as well. When you have good dreams, that reminds you of Allah, remember, it's a sign that Allah is sending you. If you have jealousy with somebody else, or if somebody's jealousy on you, you don't want to make him more jealous. You don't want to have more conflict between you two. Don't do that. Don't feel that conflict with something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to you. However, just tell the ones that you love. Remind them. Let this be a reminder for those around you that loves you. And let it be. That's it. That's all. Right? Tell somebody that knows about dreams. So obviously, if you're trying to figure out the interpretation of dreams, go to people who knows about dreams. Don't go to people that doesn't know. It's very dangerous. If somebody that does not know about dreams and they try to tell you, they try to trick you about prophecy, well, it's very very dangerous, right? For the person who interprets the dream, they should. No, I'm not one of them, but those who interpret dreams, they should do it in a way where it's most positive. Give them positive news. The person is asking, the person who's interpreting, interpret it in a way where it's positive. There's also two things that we learn from the story of Yusuf. That we know that children, pre-adolescent, children can have true dreams. So, whether or not we know it's true or not, if your child, as a father, if you're a father or your mother, if your child comes to you like, yeah, Dad, or Abi, or yeah, whatever, I had a dream. You're like, oh man, I'm busy right now. Dream, you're gonna talk to me about? No. Sit down. Give your son or daughter attention. Even though you most likely think that that's not a true dream, at least give your son or your daughter loving attention. Just like the example that we learned from Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. Right? Because, why does your child chooses you out of everybody in their life? They chose you to tell their dream to. What does that show you? It shows you that child sees you the most important person in their life. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam. You notice, Yusuf alayhi salam had how many brothers? 11 brothers. And his father. And whoever else in his family, we don't know. But who did he chose to go to? Right now, if you're a younger brother, I have an older brother. And when I was young, I look up to him. When I was young, you do things to impress your older brother so that you can get his acceptance, right? You just want your older brother to be like, oh yeah, my little brother's cool, right? You have that complexity of you want to prove him that you on the same level at least, right? Yusuf alayhi salam, he had elder brothers. Yet he didn't go to them when he was excited to see a dream. Who did he choose to go to? His father. What does that tell you? It suggests that they had a very close relationship. He wanted his father to be proud of him. So he chose the number one person that was most beloved to him to tell this good news to. And that was his father. So when your son or your daughter or your nephew or your niece or your younger baby brother or sister comes to you with good news, trying to show you what they did in school that day, which is just scribbles, but they come to you and say, look at what I did. All they want, literally, all they want is just your approval. That's all. Just for you to have eye contact with that child and be like, that is nice. Literally 1 second. You would just make their entire day. That's it. What does that take? Right? What a big lesson to take from. And we're not even We didn't even pass the 6th ayah yet of Surah Yusuf. Right? SubhanAllah. Also, I want to add this, but this comes at the end, the very end, that kuffar can also have true dreams. As we know, as we'll come to know, the king of Egypt had a dream which benefited the whole entire nation, the ummah, right? Ayah 5 and Ayah 6, really shortly, we learn that the true enemy here is who? When somebody has jealousy upon you, honestly, if somebody does something wrong, steals your money, does the worst thing you can possibly think of to you, if you switch the way you think, if you understand what Yaqub alayhi salam is saying here, the advice that he gave to his son, and we will see, I will point it out to you, the moment that Yusuf alayhi salam internalized this advice. Yusuf alayhi salam, after this time, when he was very, very young, he didn't even reach puberty yet, some of the scholars would say. He took this advice from his father. And this tells you my second point in the list, the importance of fatherhood in a child's life. When you give advice to your child, you might think it's just a small advice, but it will last a lifetime. Yusuf alayhi salam internalized this advice, and when he saw his brothers again after decades, what did he say? لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. There is no blame upon you guys today. Because he knew the true enemy. Not his brothers. Even though his brothers did the worst of the worst. They wanted to kill Yusuf. And even so, Yusuf alayhi salam says, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. There's no blame on you today. Because he knew that the blame went to who? The person, yes, shaitan. Do you understand? Right? So, shaitan is a true enemy. And the moment that we realize that, every type of turmoil, every type of conflict that you might have in your life, with anybody in your life, it is so much easier for you just to forgive them for the sake of Allah. Because the true enemy is not them. Someone else is enticing them to do it. Let them be. They're miskeen. You know what? If you think that person is closer to Jahannam, you would actually feel bad for that person. Think about that. Your own sibling, your own Muslim brothers or sisters. Yes, they did something wrong to you. But if you just change the way you think and know who the true enemy is, and the fact that that person is closer to Jahannam, you'll be like, you know what, Ya Allah, let me forgive that person. I know that they did wrong to me, Ya Allah, just forgive them. You see how much easier it is to live a life as a Muslim. Yourself, your own life, it makes it easier for yourself, not for anyone else, for you to live life in this dunya. Right? And lastly, again, the importance of a position of a father in the life of a child. Now, I'm not trying to say that it's not important to not have a mother. As we know, there are many, many examples of mothers in the Quran, as well as in Seerah. However, the question came up. I was asked actually, the last time I taught this class, a brother asked me, he says, in the story of Yusuf, why do we never hear about the mother? Why is it that we never hear about the mother, her name, nothing that signifies or suggests that he even has a mother in the first place? She's not mentioned at all, anywhere in the Quran. Why is that the case? Some of the scholars mentions that there is a technique in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses in the Quran. And the fact that He doesn't mention the mother is because He wants to highlight the father here in the story. If you mention so many other people in the story, what does that do to the most important, person that you want to highlight in your story? It kind of gets scrambled. It doesn't bring the person that you want to highlight to the top of the attention area, so to speak, right? And this also happens with Musa alayhi salam. Who knows the father of Musa? Who's ever heard Abu Musa? Nowhere in the Quran. In fact, Musa alayhi salam, he is the most mentioned prophet in the Quran. Musa alayhi salam, the scholars, they actually said, the Quran itself, if we didn't know it was the Quran, we would have said that is a book of Musa. Because he's mentioned so many times in the Quran. Right? Now, have we ever heard of Musa's father? No. Why is that the case? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does the opposite, in which He wants to highlight the actions of Musa, the mother of Musa. Her patience, the things that she went through, the fact that she had to put her own child into a raging river. The patience that she had to go through, Allah wanted to highlight that. And not to cloud it up or make it insignificant, He removes the mention of the father of Musa. Similarly with Yusuf alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants to highlight the father, Yaqub alayhi salam, and his actions. Therefore, He removes everyone else. In fact, He doesn't even mention the name of the brothers. We don't know any name of the brothers. And if we come across their names, it is from al-Khattab, from the books of the Christians and the Jews. In fact, Binyamin is not derived from any Islamic sources. The brother of Yusuf alayhi salam, the younger brother, we know very popularly, he's known as Binyamin, but it's not from the Islamic sources, right? As you can see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves things out purposefully and perfectly. Why? Because He's not telling us a story here. He's not telling a story for entertainment. He's not telling a story for us to know the entire details of the entire story. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us a story for one main purpose, and that is for us to follow the example of our prophets. To send us a message, to give us lessons for us to follow. Not to get into details, not to know where they're from, not to know the names of people, right? If that happens, it distorts the whole the process of lessons being told in a story. We get lost into specific details and this and that. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves it out in the Quran, it is not important to us. He leaves it out purposefully. And there's no benefit. If you stop and think about every single detail that Allah leaves out, and you think about it. Like for example, knowing the name of the mother of Yusuf. If we know her name, will it benefit us? Will it make the story better? No. So every single detail that Allah leaves out, if you sit and think about it, it does not benefit us. It does not. This is the perfection of the Quran. So we continue, inshallah. Ayah number 7. And inshallah, hopefully we have enough time to finish until ayah number 10. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. لقد كان في يوسف وإخوته آيات للسائلين إذ قالوا ليوسف وأخوه أحب إلى أبينا منا ونحن عصبة إنا أبانا لفي ضلال مبين اقتلوا يوسف أو اطرحوه أرضا يخل لكم وجه أبيكم وتكونوا من بعده قوما صالحين قال قائل منهم لا تقتلوا يوسف وألقوه في غيابة الجب يلتقطه بعض السيارة إن كنتم فاعلين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, certainly there are in Joseph, Yusuf alayhi salam, and his brothers, there are signs for those who ask. This is very interesting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for those who ask. This is one in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses sa'ilin. He doesn't say dhakirin, sabirin, or aqilin. He says sa'ilin, the ones who ask. And we'll get to that inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then say, when they said, meaning the brothers, Yusuf and his brother, who? Binyamin. Yusuf and his brother are more beloved to our father than us. While we are a strong group of people. Meaning, typically back, if we understand the cultures of the Arab, or people in the past had some sort of like, how would you say it, preference towards boys when it comes to children. Why? Because for boys, we are stronger and we typically go out to do things for our father. If our father were to get old, it is upon us and our responsibility to take over his duties. Right? So for a band of brothers who are older than Yusuf and Binyamin, they are saying, why is Yusuf and Binyamin, or his brother, why are they more beloved to our father than we are? We do everything. We do all the work in the house. We go out to work. We go out to the farm. We go out to do this and that. We do the heavy things. Why is it that our father doesn't love us more? We do more for him. Does that make sense? Right? So he says, they are saying, since we are the stronger group, we should be more beloved or closer to our father. Indeed, now get this. This is their words. Indeed, our father is in clear error. They're saying this about their own father. Putting him down. Right? Speaking in a way where you shouldn't speak to your father in the first place. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, He says, the brothers, they came together and He says, we kill Yusuf. Either kill Yusuf or cast him out in a faraway land. Put him in a place where he'll never be able to come back. Right? قال قائل لا تقتلوا he says اقتلوا يوسف وأطرحوه أرضا يخل لكم وجه أبيكم, so that the face of our father will turn away from them. Meaning, rather than having the attention go to our brothers, our father will give us his attention. Right? وَتَكُونُوا مِنْ بَعْدِهِ قَوْمًا صَالِحِينَ. And they said, and after you do that, we'll become better people. Meaning, after we do such a thing, we'll go ask Allah for forgiveness. We'll change after that. Right? And we'll speak a bit about that as well. And then ayah number 10, a speaker amongst them, one of them said, do not kill Yusuf. You'll notice this person has some kind of conscience. He's a lot smarter. Right? He understands the workings of life. He says, do not kill Yusuf, but just throw him into the bottom of a well. غَيَابَةِ الْجُبِّ, the bottom of a well, so that perhaps some travelers might come, because wells are often used. Wells is not like today. The source of water that people will get in the past is where? They'll get it from wells. We just turn on the faucet. Walhamdulillah. It's that easy. For people in the past, they would often go to wells multiple times in a day. And they would go and they will fetch water from the wells. So they said that if you throw him to the bottom of the well, some travelers might come and just pick him up. And from that, they will take him away for you. Right? And if you do that, if that's what if you do this, then perhaps maybe people will come and pick him up. All right? So we start with ayah number 7. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي يُوسُفَ وَإِخْوَتِهِ آيَاتٌ لِلسَّائِلِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something very, very interesting here. Ayat. Ayat is typically translated to signs or miracles or even lessons. And subhanallah, this is the perfect word to use in this story, because we get all three. In the story of Yusuf and his brothers, what do we get? We get signs from Allah. What are the signs? The miracles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Yusuf and Yaqub. These are the signs of Allah. Miracles of Allah. And I will highlight, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. I will try my best to highlight. The miracles, in my opinion, is actually towards the end of the story. Which is actually better, because if you follow a story chronologically, when does the peak of the story happen usually? When does your emotions start to stir? It's usually at the end. Because the author or the what do you call it? The movie producers, they typically want to leave you feeling emotional. Feeling like at all, like, wow, that's such a great story. Has the perfect ending, right? So they say. Now, the miracle in the story of Yusuf is just before the ending. It's actually different from how human beings structure our stories, right? So we have miracles, we have signs, and we also have lessons. And these lessons are the most powerful lessons in my life personally. The lessons in the story of Yusuf, it changed my life completely. 180 degrees. Wallahi, I'm sitting here today because of the story of Yusuf. I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Surah Yusuf. Right? So with that said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, within the story, laqad, for sure, indeed, Allah is sure. He's saying, for sure, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي يُوسُفَ وَإِخْوَتِهِ, within the story of Yusuf, the events of Yusuf and his brothers, are lessons for you, for those who are asking. Now, what does sa'ilin mean? Now, sa'il, the word sa'il in Arabic is a person that's begging. When you say someone is sa'il, it's usually the person you see on the streets and they're asking you for money and they're in need of something. Right? The other meaning of sa'il is a needy person, somebody who is in dire need of something. That's what sa'il means. So what is Allah saying here? If you are in dire need of something, this is for you. Now, there are two main opinions that I would like to cover based off just sa'ilin. The scholars mention the people that are asking that Allah is referring to is actually the people of the Quraysh. So remember we mentioned the asbab and nuzul. The reason of revelation for the story is what? We mentioned in the first class that the Quraysh, there was a group of Quraysh, leaders of them. They went to go ask the Jews. They went to go ask the Jews about questions that will prove Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that he's false. One of the three questions was that the Jews told the Quraysh, go to that person that's claiming prophethood and go ask him about what happened between Yusuf and his brothers. Exactly what this ayah is saying. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي يُوسُفَ وَإِخْوَتِهِ. It is as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is answering their question directly. They said, go ask what happened between Yusuf and his brothers. This is what happened to Yusuf and his brothers. Right? So, the first opinion is that it's a response to those questioners, the people who are asking. And the people who are asking are the Quraysh. The second opinion is that, you know how there are some people who when they face hardship, when they face difficulties in their life, it's very normal when you hear people like, Ya Allah, why? Why did you do this to me? Why take my family? Why destroy my house? Why are we being bound by the Jews? Ya Allah, why? I spent my entire life in your obedience. Why am I getting this? Now that question in itself is wrong. Right? Typically we have types of questions where people, they question events. They question causes. They question afflictions upon them. They question emotions. Right? They question even their own faith. Like, why am I Muslim? Astaghfirullah. You understand? You have people in life who goes through these series of questioning in their own hearts. And they're even questioning their own faith with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah protect us. Now, these types of questioning are referred to the people in what's being mentioned here. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي يُوسُفُ وَإِخْوَتِهِ signs and lessons and miracles for those who are asking for the truth. If you have questions in your life, if there are things that are not clear for you in your life, if you are in need, if you are a beggar, Ya Allah, please help me. Read the Quran. There are answers for you within the story, within this book. If you're questioning your faith, I invite you to read the Quran. Hassan al-Basri, he was once asked, he says, can a Muslim truly be jealous? Like as Muslim, jealousy is something that we sorry. Jealousy is something that we, as Muslims, we look down upon. It's a characteristic that we feel as if Muslims shouldn't have it. Right? So this Muslim, or this person, he comes to Hassan al-Basri. He asks him, can a Muslim really have this character? Can we have, as Muslims, can we have this? Can we be jealous? Hassan al-Basri, he responds by saying very simply, he says, haven't you forgotten the story of Yusuf? Now the story of Yusuf is all about jealousy. It's all about jealousy. The ayat that is based off of the brothers themselves, the essence of their wrongness, the essence of what they did wrong is based off of what? Is based off of their jealousy towards Yusuf and his brother. That's the stem of their problem. And lo and behold, they are believers of Allah. They are Muslims. So yes, Muslims can hold such characteristics. Now, when we face this type of issue, the thing is that most likely in every person, in every household, with every person, there is some type of jealousy within your own household. Whether it's within your own blood relatives, your cousins, your brothers, your mom, your siblings, your cousins or aunts or uncles, there's some type of jealousy that's happening with the people that are closest to you. As a Muslim, as a mu'min, how do we face such a struggle? What answers does Allah have for us? And in the story, bi'idhnillah, we will find that answer, inshallah. And with that, inshallah, we'll end it there. We will continue. SubhanAllah, I really wanted to finish up until ayah 10. And the beginning, I just wanted to do a quick review, but it was such you'll notice with every single ayah that we go through, there's so much benefits that we can derive, not just from one ayah. You know how the scholars say? The scholars say that the Quran is like the depths of the sea. You can't have enough. In my opinion, just one word of the Quran, one ayah of the Quran is like the depths of the sea. The Quran itself is like the depths of space and time. You can never have enough. You don't know the ending of space. We don't know the end of the universe. We won't know the end of the Quran. You spend a lifetime studying the Quran and it's not enough. We had people from the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ up until today, 2023, and we're still learning from the Quran. The kuffar, the scientists, every single profession, they learn something from the Quran. We can never have enough. Allahu Akbar. And with that, Allah knows best. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.